Ronda Rousey is equally sexy as she is scary. My God, her recent 14-second submission of Cat Zingano in the UFC has proven her to be one of the most dominant fighters in the UFC. We've done clips about this in the past. We know that the conversation has opened up to, will she ever fight a man? Can she fight a man in the UFC? Because now we've seen the news footage of her basically breaking the ribs of one of the newscasters. You can check that video in the link below. But the question really for discussion here is, are we ever going to see, or would you guys want to see Ronda Rousey fight a man in the UFC, in the octagon? So Victor, we'll start with you. Should Ronda Rousey be able to fight a man?
Well, I think it boils down to two things. There's the practical side and there's the curious side. Human nature dictates that you're going to want to see this spectacle. And I think that would smash any type of pay-per-view record. People would be lining up to go to that one. As a practical matter, I don't think there's any sanctioning body in America that would okay that fight. Right. So if you want to go to the old days and have them float a barge down the Mississippi and have them fight on that, then you could see it pull it off. But as long as you get the state athletic commissions involved, it's not going to happen. That
would be one of the most entertaining things, especially because you'd have to get a kayak or a rowboat or something to go out there just to watch the fight. Yeah. So Francis, we'll move on to you. So it's been discussed before, but is Ronda Rousey the most dominant fighter in the UFC?
Yeah, well, we discussed this on our clip. The magnitude that she wins her fights and the way she executes her submissions is fascinating, and no one does it better in the UFC. I think we cover it in depth, and I love the sport, and I love the way it's moving. But in terms of looking at it from the female standpoint, there's not enough competition for her, and I understand
I think
that's
zero competition for her,
because she's winning fights by knockouts in the first minute in 14 seconds is absurd. But of course, Zingano, when we talked about it tactically, she came out like a caged lion and ran at someone who can just like switch the fight in an instant. And for me, that was a stupid approach. Right. But I think in terms of her fighting a man, again, I agree with Victor. You're curious, you're understanding it. But in no disregard to how women would compete against men in this physical sport, what would happen if this did go through and she got seriously injured, like seriously hurt? Not saying that she couldn't handle the fight, but there's a lot. This would open up the spectacle.
Accidents happen.
Yeah, this accidents happen, and this would open up the spectacle to maybe women getting involved with men and maybe boxing next, and maybe other industries. What happens if there's some serious injuries, and then we look back at this fight as the first fight that started this argument? And I just generally don't think it'd be a good idea at the moment.
Right now, Justin, we're going to change up the tie. We're going to get a little more lighthearted here. Would you fight Ronda Rousey? For any amount of money.
For how much money?
Any amount of money. You name the price. They also take care of injuries and hospital fees. Would you fight Ronda Rousey?
I think $1 million would probably
$1 million?
It. But I hope that I could tap. Like, as long as I could tap out, then I'd be all right.
I would say 30 seconds you have to stand, and then you can tap out. After that, before that, you don't get your money.
I might leave with 2 broken arms, but
yeah. I might be able to crawl out of the...
Broken bones heal.
You can wipe your tears away with the 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
No problem.
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to Ronda Rousey, man, we don't know if we'll ever see this fight. It would be very foolish for the UFC to put on a fight with a man versus a woman just because of the fact that there could be injuries. The other main point from that is a professional fighter. A John Jones versus a Ronda Rousey. I'm taking John Jones in that fight. There's nothing against
different weight class, though.
Of course. I guess she would bulk up for a John Jones-like fight, or bulk down.
Well, you know, she's in the bantamweight class, which I believe is 135 pounds. So the top contenders would be like Uriah Faber would be somebody maybe should go against.
I think she could be Uriah Faber.
Yeah, do you?
No, I actually don't. But do you think that Ronda Rousey's the most dominant women athlete? Right now, all time, where would you put her in the ranks?
You know, I've always had a lot of respect for MMA and similar sports like wrestling and boxing because it's just you against the other person. There's no ball, there's no sticks. And Ronda Rousey is by far the most dominant UFC athlete we've seen in some time. And I don't think other female athletes can compare because there's that other element that it's not just you against someone else. So I definitely think she's the most dominant female athlete.
I am in complete agreement with that just because we've never seen somebody dominate a sport so strongly as she has. I want to say like Lisa Leslie, sure, but that was a team sport. Ronda Rousey's in that octagon alone by herself, and really nobody can challenge her at this point. Guys, thank you for watching. You can check TYT Sports out at youtube.com/TYT Sports, and make sure to head over to thepostgame.com for all awesome sports content.